Morning traders, Chris Capri here. So today's lesson is going to be on the one thing that you're missing about your trading and why you're struggling. And it's something that I don't really hear people talking about. I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on this, and it's something that, even though people are missing it, is still impacting your performance every single day. So we're going to jump into that, but before we do, taking the Noodle Bear for a walk. Noodle, come on. Look at that cute little face. Well, if you're wondering about that bandage, she has cancer, and that is a giant tumor on her leg. And we wanted to have surgery on it, but being that she's 15 years of age, the doctor said, and the position of it, the doctor basically said that, Noodle, this way, come on, Noodle. She basically said that we could take it off, but A, the tumor might have, or probably at this point, it's already spread to other parts of her body, and B, if we do take it off, they have to take off the whole leg because of where it is on the joint. And so, being 15, she probably wouldn't be able to handle that surgery, so we decided to just let it run its course. But we're going for a walk on the land here, and then we'll get into today's lesson, so stay tuned. So what is that one thing that you're missing in trading? We're going to start off by talking about your brain, particularly a very fun factor on your brain. So each human has optical nerves that transmit visual information to our brain, and then they get translated. Well, we have on average about 1 to 1.5 million optical nerve fibers in our brain. And yet, with 86 billion neural cells in our brain, those 1 to 1.5 million nerve fibers, when we are processing visual information, occupies or activates about half of our cerebral cortex. So 0.002% of the cells in our brain will activate approximately less than a third of our entire brain when we are processing visual information. This is why the statement has been born, seeing is believing. The reason being is that as humans, we take in visual data, and we take for all the essential sense data from our environment, but of the 5 senses that we take data from in, the majority of it, about 70%, is visual data. Hence, the term seeing is believing is not an accident. Now, what does this mean for us as traders? What it means for us as traders is that we are going to have a natural bias towards trading and training based upon what we see. This by itself isn't a problem, but because it's so skewed to one side, it causes us to ignore the other half of the equation, which is what we don't see. So I want you to think about this as a little experiment. Over the last week or the last month, when you are practicing your trading, or you are trading and you're going through your process, let's say 2 hours a day, how much of that time is dedicated towards practicing and building your skills and improving your performance based on what you see? I'm willing to bet the majority of it, if not all of it. And yet herein lies the problem, and the one thing that you're missing is that you have to train what you don't see about as much as what you do see. So what are some of the things that you don't see when it comes to trading? Well, your mindset, your emotions, your thoughts, your self-talk, the language you say to yourself. These are all things that you don't see, which most likely, because of your inherent biological and neurological biases that we all have, aren't training. And this becomes problematic because the things that we don't see, our thoughts, our self-image, our emotions, our mindset, our talk, our communication, our ideas, or things we're thinking while we're trading, have as much impact, if not more, than what we actually see. In fact, they color and alter and filter and have an effect upon everything we do see. Your mind is intermingling and interpenetrating all of your experience, whether you're trading, whether you're going to the bank, whether you are sleeping, whether you're at the grocery store, it's always there. That also means that your thoughts, your emotions, your conditioning, your limiting beliefs are always involved in your experience. And that particularly goes for when you are trading. And there's nothing you can do about it, and that's okay, as long as you are training what you don't see as much as what you do see. Now, what are some things that you and I and everyone can work on in terms of our trading process to become better traders? What can we work on in terms of what we don't see? Well, one thing is that you can work on your self-talk. See, if we were athletes and we were out on the field and we were with our team, we're probably involved in a lot of external communication, language, and verbalization that is either towards ourselves or our teammates or others. And there is definitely self-talk on the inside going on, but there's a huge mix between the two. However, when we're trading, we're not sitting in front of the computer screen, hopefully not, talking to ourselves, or at least the majority of talking that is happening, communication happening, is not external, it's internal to ourselves. So as traders, we have to be really focused on our internal self-talk, the language and thoughts that we have while we're trading, particularly when we are starting to reference ourselves and our thoughts and our skills and our abilities, our doubts, our fears, all these things. Our internal self-talk is super important. And one area that we have to really be kind of sensitive to when it comes to our self-talk is this natural negativity bias that we have. So we're wired as humans that we have 500% more neural real estate dedicated towards the negative versus the positive. And that has to do with survival. It's very straightforward. Things that were negative were threatening our existence. So we built more neural real estate towards things that threaten our existence, whereas positive things don't. So we don't have as much wiring dedicated towards noticing that. That isn't a problem when it comes to survival or things that are threatening our existence, but when it comes to trading, that has a huge impact upon how we perform. A great example of this is you're in a winning trade, you're up maybe 100 points or 100 pips, and all of a sudden you notice, you're in a good feeling about it, it's moving in your direction, you feel really good about it, but then all of a sudden it starts to pull back, and it pulls back a little bit more. You will notice that your thoughts on the market pulling back just a small amount in comparison to the top of your trade when you're in profit have much more kind of activity and threatening kind of feeling to you than every pip it goes in your favor. Every pip the market goes against you tends to create more neural activity than every pip or point it goes for you. That's the negativity bias in play. Now that may not seem like an issue, but I want you to think about it like this. Let's say you're going on a date with somebody new. It's the first date. And for the first 60 minutes, 50 of those 60 minutes, that woman on the other end of the table is spending the entire time telling you everything that's wrong with you. So she spends 50 minutes telling you everything that's wrong with you and 10 minutes telling you everything that's right about you. Now, would you want to date that person based on that experience? Obviously, no. So why would you want that to be your internal experience? Why do you think that would work in terms of your self-image, in terms of the talk and things you say to yourself? Why do you think that would work versus that situation with the woman telling you all these negative things about you all the time? It doesn't. And that's why you reinforce and kind of weaponize this negativity of bias against yourself. So what can you do about it? I'm going to give you one simple exercise that is super easy to do. And if you want to do a little bonus homework, we can talk about it afterwards. But one thing that you can do is when you are trading, for those, whatever time period you're trading, from the moment you sit down to the moment you get up, just watch and become aware of your internal language, particularly when you're in a trade or you're about to make a trade, or the trade's progressing towards your take profit and starts to pull back against you, or the trade's going towards your stop loss. Just be very aware and kind of sensitive to your internal thoughts and language. And if you notice that your thoughts and language towards yourself is starting to go negative, you're going to stop for a second and just internally say to yourself, hey, not going negative. Then you're just going to take a deep breath and come right back to what you were doing. Focus on what you need to focus on, execute what you need to execute, observe what you need to observe, watch the charts, do whatever it is you need to do. Just go back to that. And then if the negative thoughts happen to come back in, internally say to yourself, hey, not going negative. Take a deep, long breath, and then return back to what you're doing. Try that for just a week and just see what your experience and what your process is. And just notice, hey, is my language, is my experience of trading different? Am I feeling less afraid about pulling the trigger now? Am I experiencing less emotions or less kind of negative self-talk towards myself, or worried about things or fear of missing out? Is there a reduction in some of those kind of intense emotions or experience, or just negative kind of experiences we have while trading? Just see if that changes. And if it does, then you're on the right track. Then you're doing something that is having a measurable effect upon your cognition, your thoughts, your process, and that will influence what you see. Now, if you want to do a little bonus homework above that, this is something you're going to do for a week outside of trading. So just observe your verbal external language towards people, relationships, coworkers, significant others, whatever, And anytime you notice that your language is going negative, stop for a second. As soon as you notice it, stop for a second, just take a short breath, and then internally say to yourself, hey, not going negative. And then try and re-communicate what you were going to say without this kind of negative connotation of language behind it. I'm not saying that you don't notice these things. What I am saying is just be aware of how you're using your language and try and reframe it in such a way that doesn't have this kind of negativity bias. This way, we're not reinforcing something that is weaponizing, kind of this neurological and biological bias against ourselves. We don't want to just see 5 out of every thing's in our life negative. It's not a healthy way to live. It's not a healthy way to relate. It's not a healthy way to communicate. And it's not a healthy way to be towards ourselves, especially when it comes to the trading process. So that's it. That's what you're going to focus on for this particular week in terms of trading. And I'll be really interested to hear your feedback on this. And what did what was some of your self-reflections? Have you, when you start to examine in yourself, like, oh, okay, last week, last month, how much did I spend time focusing on what I could see versus what I don't see? I'm willing to bet that it's out of balance for you, that you're spending the majority, if not all of your time on things you can see versus what you don't see. And if you notice that, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just your natural neurological, biological wiring and biases coming into play. And so now that you have this information, you're empowered with this, start shifting it just a little bit, start bringing it slowly more back into balance so that you start working on some of the things that you don't see, particularly your mindset, your thoughts, your internal dialogue, your self-image, and just see what kind of impact that has upon your performance and your experience of your trading process. So did you like this video? If so, please give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm and allows a small channel like us to kind of continue doing these free videos for you. And did you like this new format of being in my office and some of the stuff on my land? If so, make sure to leave a comment. We want to hear from you. I'd like to start doing more videos like this. We've had some power outages in California, and I've actually tried to do this video 3 times, and the power went out of me, and I just said, you know what? I'm just going to start doing this off my phone. I got a brand new iPhone 11, and it's got a fantastic camera. And I just feel like, you know what, I'm just going to kind of take the power in my own hands and start doing it off the camera. And so if you felt like this was a good experience and it worked out really well, then I'll keep doing videos like this. So make sure you let me know in the comments and feedback. Until then, good luck trading. I hope you benefit from this video, and I'll see you in the next one.